So we're doing peak potential. So what does that actually consist of? What is it actually? Peak potential is your body working in optimal harmony. So what does that sound a lot like? Sounds a lot like chiropractic for a whole. Because chiropractic is about your body working at optimal harmony. So let's think about this. How many different systems do we have in our body? What's the one system I talk about all the time?
The
nerve system, right? So we got the nerve system. What else do we have?
circulatory,
So we got the circulatory.
muscular, skeleton. I'll be quiet.
What else? We got nerve, circulatory, muscle, skeletal, lymphatic.
Endocrine.
Endocrine? Ooh, somebody went to school. Anything else?
Digestive.
Digestive.
Reproductive. You're so smart.
Some days.
How many is that?
Respiratory.
3 more.
How are we doing, guys? We doing okay?
Nervous.
We got nerve, circulatory, muscle, skeletal, lymphatic, endocrine, digestion, reproductive, respiratory. What were you saying, Ray?
It's muscular, I didn't know you had that.
There's a couple more, but what I'm really trying to highlight here is there one master system? Is there one system that controls all of the systems? Kind of like the ring. One ring to rule them all. One system to run them all.
Nervous system.
Exactly, the nerve system. It's that one system that runs all other systems. It's the one master system. It's the system that's actually formed first. It's the very first system to be made. So, that nerve system. And this is why I talk about it all the time. Now the problem is a lot of people think that it's blood. But blood is a passive system. It's a byproduct of what's going on. It's not the byproduct of quick reactions. You cannot change hormonal levels or circulatory patterns very quickly. You can if the nerve system changes it, but by itself, in and by itself, it can't be changed unless the nerve system tells it to do something. Does that make sense? So the nerve system is the system that determines how you will function. So what if we got stressed out? What if somebody said something stressful to us? What if, we're driving down the road, excuse me, and somebody cut us off? That doesn't happen to you at all, right? What does our body do? How does our body react?
Adrenaline.
We kick in that adrenaline, right? And so what it does, let's think about the blood, because we've all been taught that blood runs everything. We gotta check the blood, because the blood's telling us what's going on. I agree with you, not necessarily, but the majority of people in our society think blood is the key. So if we look at this, as soon as we get stressed out, our nerve system will actually change the blood vessels. So what it'll do is it'll say, okay, we're getting stressed out, we gotta change all those other systems. So what is it? What are 2 systems that we talked about that you don't need at all when you're running away from somebody or getting ready to fight somebody?
Digestive and reproductive.
Yes, we don't need digestive or reproductive, right? So these 2 systems get turned off. This is how you get with reproductive. This is how you get your fibroids. This is how you get your systems that don't work correctly, because you're shutting the system off, so you're shunting away blood. You're literally taking blood away from that system and putting it into other systems, specifically your muscles. How about digestion? Well, we start shunting blood away from there for long periods of times, and then you're just gonna start getting what's called necrosis, or holes. And this is how you get your irritable bowel. This is how you get your Crohn's disease. All of these things is a byproduct because you don't have enough energy there to make sure the tissue's working right. And then if you keep it there long enough, you have big holes in your bowel, and then proteins that everybody's sick of or thinks they have problems with, which is gluten, can get into your bloodstream, and then your body attacks it. And then all of a sudden you have a gluten problem. But is the gluten the problem, or is the hole in the bowel the problem? The hole in the bowel, right? So if we want to turn this back on, do we got to keep being scared of somebody, or do we got to learn how to get our body to heal? We got to learn to get it to heal. And that's putting it into that relaxation or that parasympathetic tone. So these systems were turned off. The systems get turned on really big though, respiration, because we got to breathe in a lot of air so we can make a lot of energy, and our heart, our circulatory. Now our circulatory does some real interesting things. So it allows the heart to speed up, causes the sympathetics to go really, really quickly, but it takes all the little vessels that actually go out, and it allows them to contract or dilate a little, but all the vessels coming back, they get smaller. And the way that it is when you take a circle and you compress it and you push fluid through it, it'll go quicker. So it actually makes it go, contracts, and the resistance actually pushes the fluid quicker through. So the blood vessel will actually called vasoconstrict, and the heart rate will go up. So what does this mean? Do you know anybody has a term called hypertension? That's because you're in sympathetic tone, you're stressed out, and your body goes, I'm going to be attacked, so I got to be on guard. I got to be ready to run away. So I got to run my blood pressure high and constrict my vessels so the blood can get to the muscle real quickly. That's how you get hypertension. Now, if you run in hypertension long enough, your body will actually start causing rips in the vessels. But this all came from, and that's atherosclerosis, this all came from chronic stress. Excuse me. So you have that chronic stress. That chronic stress is causing the vessels to constrict, and what happens is, when the vessels come down, there's little Ys. So, if this is usually supposed to go at, let's say, 10 psi, I'm just making up numbers here. And now it's going at 20. See how that can cause some issues, where you keep hitting that middle part, and then you rip it. And when you rip it, you have an inflammatory response, and then you have a cascade of cells produced there. And it's all because you were stressed that led to the hypertension that led to your atherosclerosis. It was stress that caused it. It wasn't you eating the steak. It wasn't you eating the bread. It was your chronic stress. This literally is what's causing the atherosclerosis. The byproduct of the chronic stress is that you do have these degenerative properties. But the question is, what are we looking at? Are we looking at the body working at optimal? Or are we going to treat the symptom, which is the atherosclerotic prop? So if you take it from an allopathic viewpoint, you say, the cholesterol is the problem. Well, okay. That's like saying cholesterol caused atherosclerosis. Is this the same as saying rats cause garbage dumps? It doesn't make any sense. The cholesterol is there because you're stressed out. It's not there because of any other reason. The rats are there because you have a garbage dump. Reading cholesterol levels just tell you how stressed your body is. If you're in a chronic stress state. Now this isn't the stress that we talk about, oh, I'm stressed out, I'm feeling emotionally stressed. This is subconscious stress. This is your body living in a state where it literally thinks it's being attacked. Now an easy way to tell if you have this issue, do you get cold hands? Do you get really sweaty hands? And do your hands get really dry? If you have any of those three, you are stressed. Feet as well. Any of those three. Now, who usually gets those problems I'm talking about? Men or women? Women, right? Because us men, we're scary. We do stupid stuff. And so women have to be on more of a defense mode because of the stupid stuff men do. And that's why women on average have these stress responses more. And specifically the ones I'm talking about. But, so that's how you get into the atherosclerotic issue. The heart rate goes up. Now, there's a measure, and we do it in my office, it's called heart rate variability. This is a high indication of your adaptability to stress. So what's supposed to happen when you breathe in, when I say the word sympathetic nerve system, do you guys know what I'm talking about? We're talking about that stress system, right? And it's not even stress, it's the ability to react quickly. So the fight or flight is what some people have termed it. And the other one is parasympathetic. So heart rate variability determines your sympathetic to parasympathetic tone and how quickly you can change. So the bigger your change between heart rates when you breathe in and breathe out, the better your fluctuations are. What that means simplistically is when you breathe in, your heart rate's supposed to go up because you activate your sympathetic tone. When you breathe out, your heart rate's supposed to go down. And the bigger the gap between breathing in and breathing out, the healthier you are. Because that means you can turn on your stress mode and relaxation mode. That's called heart rate variability. This is a huge indicator of all diseases. Every single disease. Now, if you had that test that I did, one of them was heart rate variability. And it's the SRE, or the stress response. And when we look at it, when we look at the test, there was a couple bars that were supposed to be low, and then the middle was supposed to be high, and then it was supposed to be low again. What that means is, when you breathe out, it's low, and when you breathe in, it's high, and that's what the heart rate variability is supposed to look like, a chart that goes up and down. If you have that, your ability to adapt to the world is very, very high, because you could turn on both stress state and relaxation state. But here's the problem. Most people, instead of being able to go up and down, do this. They flatline. Now, if you can't adapt, what's going to happen to your body? Are you going to be healthy or sick? If you go outside and it's really, really hot, and you can't sweat, what's going to happen? You're going to pass out of heat exhaustion, right? You go outside and it's really, really cold, and you can't shiver, you're going to die from hypothermia. Those are two major extremes, but everything else exists. So, if you can't adapt, that's how you grow sickness and disease. So our goal is to be able to turn on stress when we need it and turn it off. Now, how the parasympathetic works, it's not that just one is turning on and the other one's turning on. The parasympathetic is turning the brake on. So one of them has to go on real quickly. Because if a lion jumps out and you have to turn it on real slowly, you're going to get eaten. So what the parasympathetic is the brake. And it says, okay, we're on stop. The other one is always on full. And that's why if you've ever had a car accident, somebody freaked you out, you ever been scared and instantly your heart rate goes through the roof? It's because instantly your body turns off the brake. And everything's at full octane. And everything's driving real quick. That system of putting on the brake of the parasympathetic determines how healthy you'll be. Because if you can't regulate it, that's where we go sickness and disease. So the ability to get to a peak potential in life is your ability to slow that system down. If you can slow it down, then you can get into states such as in sports, they talk about being in the zone. It is, it's a beautiful thing, right? Being in the zone. Well, when you're in the zone, you're in a specific brain function. And what that function is called alpha. And that's a meditative state. Being in alpha is being in the zone. And you can train yourself to be here. But the only way you can get into alpha is if you can slow your body down on command. Because you'll hear athletes talk about it. Everything was just slow. Everything, and it's not like the world slowed down. It's that you slowed down your stress so you didn't have to overreact and you could see everything for what it was and not what you perceived it to be. If I say it again, you could see the things for what they are and not how you wanted to filter them. Because the thing most people don't understand is what you see is not what there really is. You'll hear somebody say something and you'll filter it. And what comes out may be wrong. Like you'll say to somebody hello and they'll say, oh, the nerve on that person. You go, what was that? And that's because their sympathetics were on so high, they filtered the world through stress mode. That person was attacking me. And that's why when we see people get adjusted, we teach them to put the brake on. And the brake slows everything down. And then they go, you know what? My wife isn't that bad anymore. Well, she wasn't that bad in the beginning. It's just that you were in stress mode and everything was causing the problem. Does that make sense? So our goal is to get you so you can learn to turn that brake on more. And then when you need to go, you can boost it into high mode as well. Being able to turn that brake on is what a lot of other traditional things do, such as yoga, meditation, breathing. All these things are ways to learn how to put the brake on of stress or sympathetics. Okay. So if you can learn to put that brake on, you can learn to relax. And you can learn to get in that zone. And that zone is where you heal as well. Healing takes place in alpha, theta, and delta states. But primarily in alpha and theta. Deep, deep, deep sleep, you will heal, but not to the extent of light sleep and meditation. And that's why you've also talked to people that can meditate and they'll feel relaxed and healed. And it's because that meditation is putting the body into a state of healing. And the healing is the actual brain state. It's the state of a low frequency wave. Now, these waves, the major ones we'll talk about are beta, which is a high frequency, alpha, theta, and delta. These are all waves. Now, if you guys remember from physics or chemistry class, those things that go like this, no? Have you ever been on the ocean? And the wave goes like this? And there's different kind of waves that come in. Well, the higher the stress, let me ask you a question, and you guys all know this. If somebody's really stressed out, are they just like this, or are they going and shivering, right? They're shivering, right? They're moving. So is that a high wave or a low wave? It's a high wave, right? So guess what beta is? This is beta. It's a high frequency. High thought process. Now, this is a high frequency, but the amplitude, so the frequency is the number of times it goes up and down, but the amplitude or the height is very low. So you're very reactionary. Then when we get to alpha, the amplitude gets higher and the wave frequency gets slower. And these are the people that are in that meditative state. I'm just jiving, everything's good. Does that make sense? Now, in Colorado here, we have a recreational substance that a lot of people use, and that will put you directly into theta. So if somebody does use marijuana, they get into theta, and theta is a really big wavelength. And then, but theta is actually sleeping, so your brain actually goes into sleep mode. And it's a light sleep. And this is why people can talk about, and this is where you'll start having hallucinations and things like that, is when your brain starts sleeping. And then you can get into delta. And delta is really slow waves. So these brain frequencies determine how you heal. If you live in beta, it's literally impossible for you to heal. So you ever heard of somebody staying up for days on end? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days? That's because they can't get out of beta. They're scared that if they fall asleep, something will happen. The lion will get them, they'll fail their test, something will happen. And psychologically, they're stopping themselves from healing. Other people who sleep too much, they're going to be in different brain states. So their body adapts, reacts differently. So the goal for all of these states is to go through them consecutively, up and down, and to do them rhythmically, which means that you can easily go back and forth and heal. That's the ultimate goal. That's where you hit peak potential, because each single one of these phases is good. Said if you have too much of something, it's bad. Does that make sense? Now each frequency optimally Under stress, you want beta to be 32% of your brain frequencies. Optimally, under stress, and I'm talking about the stress response tests that I have, we want your alpha to be at 22%. Now these aren't all going to add up because there's other brain frequencies. Theta, we want to get that one at roughly 20%. Those are the big ones that we need to know about, because delta is deep sleep. You're not consciously aware, so you can't regulate that. If you have those frequencies and you can go down and up rhythmically when you're dealing with stress, when you're going through life, then you'll be able to adapt correctly. But what we see is people don't do that. They have defense measures. So what do? I get stressed out and I become hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is called ADHD. It means I'm aware of everything because everything's going to get me. That make sense? We got to protect ourselves because somebody's going to get me and I don't know what's going on, and that's what a lot of people do. And the other one that we see a lot of today is, well, I'm stressed out, so I'm actually going to turn off. Now this is funny. Turning yourself off is called ADD. So you actually become more theta driven. So you're actually in a light sleep mode. So you go, okay, if that's true, then why do all those ADD people run around and get all crazy? And they can't sit still. Well, let me ask you a question. If you're half asleep, how are you gonna, if your brain's literally half asleep, how's it gonna get any stimuli to make itself do something? Why don't we run around? Because if we move, we stimulate the brain through what's called proprioceptors. It means the joints will go to the cerebellum, they'll move, and they'll stimulate the brain, and then the brain will start feeling things and be able to think. These are two major defense processes for overbombardment of stimuli. Does that make sense? Now, these are normal ones. What happens if we start getting even more abnormal and we've over and underreacted? We don't know what to do. Sometimes we underreact and shut down, and sometimes we overreact. That's called PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. It's the brain doesn't know what to do. It's scared, and it doesn't know if to overreact or underreact. It has no cycle anymore. It goes, well, I'm going to get this really bad. No, I'm going to slow down here and go up high and down and sideways. And that's because it's literally been traumatized for so long that it's shutting down on some and overreacting on others. These issues that I'm talking about right here are all brain-based problems. There are things that you can help people with. We do not need to medicate them. We do not need to segregate them away and tell them that they're bad people. These are people that have adapted to stress in a faulty manner, and as a byproduct, their response mechanism is not correct. What we need to do is get them into the right ratios. And when they're in the right ratios, they'll actually heal themselves from within. They'll heal themselves with that innate intelligence. And when that intelligence takes over, they'll be at the peak. They'll be at the place they want to be. So these are the diseases, these are the dysfunctions, and it's not even a disease, it's an adaptation. It's, I got so stressed out, I'm going to shut down. I got so stressed out, I'm going to overstimulate. It's not a disease. It's their body adapting to the world we live in. So what do we want to be able to do? We want to be able to have somebody cut us off and us not go straight into beta and freak out and road rage ourselves to death. We want to be able to go, okay, and you see people like this. He cut me off, alpha. That means he relaxed instantly, zoned in instantly. Now, me personally, I've trained myself to do this because I was a goalie in hockey. So I had to zone out everything to be able to focus on the specific puck because there's 10 guys skating around, doing crazy stuff, hacking at you, doing stupid stuff. So I had to be able to zone in on the one thing and then zone out and zone in. So I didn't even know I was doing this, but I was doing alpha training. That alpha training allows me to zone in and zone out. If you're somebody that gets easily distracted, alpha training is exactly what you need because you have ADHD. 90% of America has a form of ADHD, a small to large form. They're way too stimulated. And the reason why this is happening is, have you ever watched the TV for more than 10 minutes? You ever driven down the road Does everybody want your attention? They always want to market something to you, and they put these distracting sounds in that get you all agitated. And they're done on purpose. Those noises and sounds, they make you hypervigilant because they turn on your sympathetics. And when you're hypervigilant, you got to look at it. Now, I'll give an example of how this works. Do you guys all remember where you were during 9/11? When you first heard there was a flight that hit the building? That turned on an emotional trigger. And that emotion turns on the limbic system, which inherently ingrains that memory into your brain. It's never moving. Well, guess what? If I'm a marketing person, wouldn't I want to turn that on? Because then that person would always remember my product. So if I can get you stressed out and attach an emotion to it, you're going to remember it. And then you're going to want to buy my product. So it's actually playing on your physiology, the television is, by the noises and the sounds that are used. That's crazy. So when we're aware of it, then we can know what we're dealing with. So if you're that person that has to be in control, type A personality, you're hyper beta. Hyper beta. And the more beta you are, the easier it is for you to get stressed because you got to see everything, know everything, make sure everything's in control and everything. And it gets really hard because your body can't deal with that. And it stresses you out. Now, if you are that person or is more theta driven and you have that ADD personality, then we got to train you to upregulate more to a theta and a beta. But we want a low end of beta. Because in beta, there's actually a small section that's called the sensor of the brain, called the sensor motor rhythm. And its job is to take beta wave functions and disperse them to different aspects of the brain. And what that means simplistically is it defrags your brain. So if you train yourself in SMR, which is the low end of beta, then your body will heal. Now, what's something we've heard of this before? This is called REM sleep, rapid eye movement, when you're moving stuff around. And you can see how much stuff people are dealing with by if you close your eyes and look at the person next to you, how quickly their eyes move. That's how much stuff they have to defrag in their brain for that day. So the more you're moving, the more you're stressed. The slower your eye movements are moving, the less you're stressed. So if you close your eyes and they go, that means you're a hyper-stressed person. This is another way to look at it. Does it make sense, guys? So our goal is to get you so you can live in this nice alpha state. And when you need to be stressed out to get away from that lion or that crazy guy driving the car, you can jump right into beta. But then you can go right back into relaxation Zen mode and don't live there. Because the problem is not that you're over or underreacting. The problem is that you stay there. And when you stay there, that's when problems happen. But when you can calm down on demand, you can get things done that you never thought were possible. And this is why people who meditate often have very big ideas come out of themselves. Because they tap into a frequency of relaxation. Now, if you want to get all energetic on this, when we get into alpha, this is the frequency of the earth. This is when you feel connected to everybody else around you. In the lower frequencies of alpha. That's when you tap into the frequencies of other people. That's one way to look at it, and it is true. Another way to look at it is when you tap into alpha, you tap in your body's ability to relax and heal. You also tap in your ability of your body to slow down all the external environments and actually think about a specific action or task that you need, and then you can use all your energy towards that. Instead of being reactive and reacting to everything, you can be proactive and go, I need to find this one answer. And when I find that one answer, I'm going to focus just on that. And a lot of our very great minds did this. They meditated and they got themselves into alpha. Einstein did this. Tesla did this. I don't know if you know this guy. His name is B.J. Palmer. He did this as well. He's the guy who invented, or he was the proponent that really pushed chiropractic. Excuse me. So why did they do this? And they would say, I would sit in a dark room until the answer was given to me. And it was because it would take them into alpha and they'd relax. And then they get the answer that they're looking for. When they get the answer, it was because they tapped into alpha. They tapped into their internal intelligence of everything they've ever heard. Does that make sense, guys? So to get to that peak potential, we want to get a lot of alpha. Alpha is the big thing. You have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can that only, when you listen, when you tap into other people's frequency, can that only happen in a waking state, or can
Alpha is a waking
in
state.
a waking state? 'Cause I've heard of people having dreams and coming up with insights. Does
Yeah.
that mean that they had alpha while they were sleeping?
Well, when you're talking about that, what you've done is everybody's had this. They fall asleep, they don't know where their keys are, and then wake up and they know exactly who they are. Or they fall asleep and they have an answer they need, and they wake up with the answer. Your subconscious does whatever you tell it to do, tell it where to find the things that you're doing. So what you're doing is, if you go to sleep and have a specific question, your subconscious, which runs in Theta and Delta, will tap into all knowledge you have and find the answer. Okay. So if you want to know a good answer, if you're like, I have one really important question. Should I marry this person? Should I live here? Should I do this? Go to sleep with one question. And what I usually do is, if the answer is yes, have me wake up happy. If the answer is no, have me wake up agitated. And it gives me the answer every time. But make sure you write it down, so when you wake up agitated, like, why the hell am I agitated? Yes, Ray.
Must be where that saying, sleep on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely where it came from. And it also comes from, if you look at biblically, why you're not supposed to go to sleep angry, because you'll ruminate on all the problems as well. So you got to clear it out, or you actually ingrain subconsciously into your brain that this person is a problem in my life.
So you have more time in Theta and Delta, as you
Well, you're actually, when you're sleeping, you're going to go through these different rhythms. You're not going to come completely awake, but you're going to fluctuate.
Great. So there will be some alpha during sleep.
I can't tell you 100%. Just from my knowledge that I have, I would assume that you would maybe get a little alpha, but the thing is that's conscious, so maybe not. I can't tell you. If you want, I'll get the answer for you though. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions? So, the quick and easy answer is, you want peak potential, learn how to get in the zone. Well, everybody knew that, Doc. The zone's alpha. Learn how to live in alpha, and your life will be easy. Real easy. Because then you're literally, let's put it this way. Have you ever had it where you just go somewhere and you get free stuff all the time? You're in that, it's just one of those days you just get free stuff and people are all nice to you and they're holding the door and everything's good. It's because you're an alpha. And when you're an alpha, you're connected to everybody around you and they just want to be nice to you. They just want to help you out. That's living in alpha. Have you ever had those days where everything's hard and everybody's an SOB to you? It's because you live in high beta. And you're resonating so high that you're pushing everybody away from you. That you're literally agitated. If you see some guy on the bench just chilling out, is he somebody you might want to talk to? He's just nice and relaxed. But if you see somebody over there talking to themselves and we think they're crazy, right? That person's living in beta and the other one's living in alpha. And we all know the physiological responses to this, but living in these frequencies of thought determine how we react to the world, determine how we take care of ourselves. Now, I have an easy way for you to get into alpha and theta. In my office, we do neural entrainment. That's what those glasses are. And when I put you on the glasses, it entrains your brain to go into alpha and theta. So if you're somebody that lives in beta and you can't relax and heal, when I put you there, you get really happy. You get really, really happy. You go, wow, this is what relaxation feels like? Holy cow. Now that's if you're receptive. But if you're a hyper beta person, you're somebody who's got to be in control all the time, and it's not all the time, but some people have this, when you put them in there, the brain gets angry. It literally gets pissed, and they'll come out and go, that was the worst thing ever. And I go, yeah, that's because you can't relax at all. You have learned to be in such a control freak mode that if your body even thinks about calming down, you overreact and say, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. We gotta think about everything. We can't have this happen. We can't relax. If we relax, somebody might get us. Something bad might happen. And for those people, it usually takes 3 to 4 sessions to get them to actually relax, to find out that laying in a chair that's a calm and quiet environment is not gonna attack them. But people have these problems. So when you can get them there, that will gradually get them there, it'll radically change their life. And when their life is changed, they can actually start to heal. Because when you start training the brain that it's allowed to live in relaxation, and then it's allowed to get into light, dreamy sleep, you can heal. Another side effect of not being in alpha or theta and living in beta is that you don't dream. If you don't dream, what usually happens with these people is they get so stressed out all day long that they crash. They don't gradually go to sleep. They put their head on the pillow and they pass out, and everybody's like, oh, I wish I could do that. No, you don't. If you're that person, that means you go right from beta to delta into deep sleep, and you don't go through the phases of consciousness that you're supposed to, and because of that, your body keeps growing sickness because it can't heal. Because it literally exhaust yourself and then pass out. And then go the next day and pass out. And these are people that usually wake up exhausted and they need their coffee or they need their cigarette. They need some sort of stimuli to get them going in the morning. And it's because they're literally exhausting their bodies. So, what's our goal? Do we want to live here? No. Why not? Isn't that good? Good place to live? It is for a short period of time, 20, 30 minutes. Now here's the deal. If you're in school and you're not living at least in one of these 2 stages, they're not happy with you. So you ever know somebody who daydreams all the time?
They like you in beta.
Alpha theta states. But they love you in beta.
High beta.
Exactly.
They do everything they can to get you there.
Exactly. You gotta stress the kid out. Because he's gonna remember then. Because he's stressed and in sympathetics. The problem with this is prolonged sympathetics is what causes disease. And that's why we have such a high heart rate and cancer risk in this country, is because we're living in sympathetics.
And the funny thing is it destroys your memory.
100%. I agree with you 100%. Long term. Now, good memory actually happens here in alpha. So if you can learn how to zone in and just be in that nice, everything's going cool zone, cool hand Luke style, everything will come easy. Here's our problem though. In America, this is low and this is low. My sickest people have this alpha state at like 10 to 15% of their whole brain function. And it's supposed to be at 22. And when they're supposed to relax, they actually turn this state off and go right into beta. And so that's where the problem comes. Is if you can't relax, you can't heal. If you can't heal, you can't learn, you can't do the things you need to take care of in life. And if you're a person that has reproductive issues, you're living in beta. You're like, well, I'm not stressed out, really? And you talk to them, and they'll have one of these things, and they'll think you are a genius. If you talk to somebody and you literally shake their hand, I'm telling you one of my secrets here. You shake their hand, and they have cold hands, or they have really clammy hands, or they have really dry hands. You go, wow, you're really stressed out. How did you know that? Well, your hands tell me how you're reacting. All those things are stress mode. And you go, okay, that means your hips hurt, and you probably have low back pain too. Well, how did you know that? Well, you're stressed out. The hip flexor is going to pull over. You might have, and then you can go down the list. You might have bowel problems. You might have reproductive issues. Well, holy cow, you're a mind reader. You don't know, my doc taught me these things. What it is those cold and clammy hands tell me that you're so stressed out that your body can't heal. And if you live chronically there, that's the problem. Now, if somebody just cut you off and you get it for a second, that's cool. But if you get it chronically, especially if they have dry hands, if you know somebody has to put lotion all the time, that literally means their internal organs are growing sickness because they're shunting all the energy away and going to your muscles. That make sense, guys? Do you have any questions for me?
How do we get an alpha? Stay there.
How do you get an alpha and stay there? There are different ways to get there. The easiest way for me to show you what alpha feels like is to use the glasses in my office called Brain Tap. That's to show you. The way to stay there is either put 10 to 20 years of meditation in like a yoga guru person, or you can do the stuff that I like to do, which is a short and easy way, is that I have a way to program your brain to stay in alpha, and it's called neurofeedback. And what that is you'll actually take an EEG lead, put it on your brain, and whenever your brain gets into alpha state and decreases beta and decreases theta, you'll get a Pavlovian response. You'll get a noise and sound response. And then your brain goes, ooh, I like that. And so the longer it gets trained how to do that, the quicker it'll happen. And once you entrain the brain by doing neurofeedback, it's done. I don't have to train you anymore. You're in alpha. And you'll stay there. Now the problem is when you have a stress response, you're going to revert. Now, the quicker you can learn how to train your brain to stay there, the longer it'll stay. Did that answer the question?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Do you guys have any other questions?
What are things that you can do at home to train your own brain?
Good question. Now, remember I said there was that heart rate variability, right? What was controlling the heart? It was actually your breathing. So deep diaphragmatic breathing is the key to learning how to turn that brake on more. Now, here's the problem. When people do diaphragmatic breathing, they don't breathe from their diaphragm. So that's exactly opposite to what we need. Because if you breathe from your shoulders, you cause more stress. If you breathe from your tummy, it'll cause you to heal. So I have a whole course on that now to do it. And if you have a lot of problems, I have a biofeedback machine that will actually teach you how to do it. And it will do the same Pavlovian response. You guys know what I mean by that? Like the Pavlov's dog, they salivated. That if you can't do it correctly, then we'll literally put a heart rate monitor on you and a breathing monitor on you. And when you do it right, you get a response. And when you do it wrong, you don't get a response. And then you train yourself how to relax. Deep breathing is the key. And if you look at this, all these different gurus and everything, they talk about the breath. And the breath is the key. And because the breath is the key is because it regulates heart rate. So if you know how to breathe correctly from your tummy, you know how to get your body to calm down. So if you're like, well, okay, Dr. Josh, I think I can do this. If when you breathe and you're doing diaphragmatic breathing and you start getting sleepy, that means you're doing it right. If you get agitated, it means you're not doing anything right at all. So it's a real quick and easy way to see how you're doing. There's a lot of diseases that are caused by stress responses. Have you ever heard of Ranviers or Raynaud syndrome? So these are people that instead of, I used to have it when I was a kid. I started getting adjusted and my body trained itself how to relax, and now I don't have it anymore. And what happens is when you get stressed out, instead of turning, it overreacts. Instead of turning on the parasympathetic to relax when you're done the stress moment, it puts more of the sympathetic on. So what happens is it'll shunt all the blood away from your hands. Your hands will go red, white, and blue, and they start going numb. So it literally shunts all the blood away and you can't react correctly. And it's because you got overstimulated with that sympathetic stress. I went to my chiropractor, we got adjusted, and it took me about a year and a half, and in a year and a half, it changed my sympathetic nervous system so much that I don't have that problem anymore. My hands don't get too cold. So when you're too cold, your nerve system's supposed to say, okay, it's too cold here, let's shunt blood here to make it better. Instead of doing that, the body goes, we're being attacked, let's take the blood away. And that's how you can get frostbite on your hands and stuff like that. That's one specific neurological problem. So, any other questions? We good? Rock and roll? Excellent. So, If you guys learned anything tonight, because I know I went over a lot of hokey pokey and real cool stuff too. All I ask is that just bring a friend. Bring a friend to the talks. They're not expensive. They're this much money. They're nothing. Because my goal is to not have you come here and take something from you. My goal is to give to you guys. My goal is to empower you guys and uplift you guys. My goal is to take you from somebody in America, and in America we're taught to be victims, is to empower you. So that when somebody says something stupid to you, like take this drug, have this cut out, you go, why? Not, yes, master. You go, why is this supposed to happen? Tell me the physiology behind it. Tell me what you think is going on. Because in our nation, we're being taught as physicians that we're supposed to do, we're basically supposed to give the patient all the prerogatives and all the protocols and have them make the choice. Because when they make the choice, then they're ultimately responsible. And we're supposed to empower people and uplift people and not tell them do this, do that. I'm supposed to go, here's how you can get healthy, here's how you can get sick. What do you want to do? If you want to get healthy, follow this path. And that's why with most of my people, I tell them, I'm not your doctor, I'm your coach. If you listen to me, I know you'll get healthy. If you want to fight me, it's not my problem. I just know you're not going to, get healthy as quickly. It's just going to take you longer. Either way, I'm invested in making you healthy and having you guys get healthy and take care of yourselves, but I want you to be uplifted. I want you to literally feel as if you can take care of yourselves and know that health comes from within. So have a friend come. Have a family member come. And understand that I'm not a three-headed dragon and nothing weird's going to happen. And they can ask any weird question they want, because I answer lots of weird questions. So just think of a friend or family member, and if you can think of them and go, you know what, I think they should come to one of these talks, just give us a call ahead of time and we can put just their name down just so we have enough chairs. So thank you guys. Think of that friend, and let's get you guys adjusted.